Hi everyone, today I'm taking you inside Elizabeth Gaskell's home to explore the fascinating world of Victorian life and the remarkable influence of Mrs Gaskell herself. Elizabeth Gaskell is known for novels like Mary Barton and North and South, and she was a prominent Victorian author and close friend of our dear friend Charlotte Brontë. In this video, we'll dive into how Mrs Gaskell's home reflects her role as a mother, wife and writer, and we'll explore her unique friendship with Charlotte Brontë, which eventually led her to write Bronte's biography. So, join me as we walk through the rooms where Mrs Gaskell worked, entertained and raised her family, and let's uncover the impact she made on Victorian literature and society. So I've been allowed to ring the famous doorbell that Charlotte Brontë once rang, so let's go and do that. Are you ready? It's brilliant. Ready? How cool is that? As the saying goes, the best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. This was definitely the case for me on this day. So I'm in the gardens of the Gaskell House and I've had a look around the museum, but the problem is I've been so focused on looking at everything inside the museum and taking it all in, photographing and videoing it for you, that I've kind of forgot to actually talk to camera at all. And as you can see, it's now getting quite dark and the museum has just closed. So I am going to finish off this video in a slightly warmer environment than the gardens. And hopefully we're going to get ourselves a cup of tea at the same time. So yeah, let's go somewhere warm and let's have a chat about Mrs Gaskell and Charlotte Brontë. But I'm sorry I didn't do any voice to camera. I was actually in the museum, but yeah, that's what happens. That's the thing, when you're really interested in what's around you, I kind of believe you should take it all in. So yeah, it's that whole don't live your life through the lens of a camera. Is that how it goes? Anyway, so yeah, I think it's time to go to my accommodation for the night and we'll catch up then. All right. Hello, it's a few hours later. I'm at my accommodation. I've had something to eat and I've had a bit of a sit down. I thought we'd pick up where we left off when I was leaving Elizabeth Gaskell's house. It's gone really quite cold now, so I'm glad to be indoors. And yes, I have had a cup of tea. Right, let's get on. Let's learn about Elizabeth Gaskell. So Elizabeth Gaskell, or Mrs. Gaskell as she's widely known, was a prominent writer and social commentator of the Victorian era. She's best known for novels like Mary Barton or Cranford, and of course North and South, which explores social issues like class struggles and the plight of industrial workers. Living in Manchester, the heart of the Industrial Revolution, gave her a first-hand look at the city's challenges and the experience of its working class, which inspired much of her writing. She was married to William Gaskell, a Unitarian minister, and together they made their home here in Manchester, where they raised 4 daughters. The Gaskell House became a gathering place for prominent intellectuals, writers and reformers. Living in a reform-minded city and community kept Mrs. Gaskell's connections to ideas and individuals, which later played a part in meeting with Charlotte Brontë. Captured in this rare photograph, a young Beatrix Potter stands alongside William Gaskell, husband of Elizabeth Gaskell. Their families, connected by shared Unitarian beliefs, often mingled in circles of progressive thought and creativity. Mrs. Gaskell and Charlotte Brontë first met in the Lake District in 1850. They were introduced by Sir James K. Shuttleworth, a mutual friend and educational reformer who admired both women's writing. It was a small gathering at his home in Briery Close, where these 2 women from very different backgrounds formed a deep bond. Charlotte, of course a shy and solitary figure from the remote Yorkshire village of Haworth, was deeply moved by Mrs. Gaskell's warmth, humour and openness. Despite their differences, Mrs. Gaskell was a city-dwelling wife and mother, while Charlotte was the last surviving Brontë sibling with a more reserved nature. The 2 connected over shared challenges as women writers in a very male-dominated literary world. Mrs. Gaskell admired Charlotte's quiet strength and talent, while Charlotte appreciated Mrs. Gaskell's warmth and frankness. I can almost picture Charlotte Brontë and Elizabeth Gaskell sitting here right in front of the fire, sipping tea and catching up. We know Charlotte visited this house, so it's easy to imagine their conversations echoing through these walls. Though they lived far apart, Mrs. Gaskell and Charlotte kept their friendship alive through letters. Their correspondences revealed so much about their personalities and mutual support. They confided in each other about personal concerns, writing, and of course the pressure that they faced in publishing. Charlotte especially valued Mrs. Gaskell's advice and understanding, described her as a woman of genius talent with a caring heart. One letter from Mrs. Gaskell to a friend after Charlotte's death expresses her sadness, saying, "What a loss she is to me. Although Charlotte's letter to Mrs. Gaskell's have not survived, we know from Mrs. Gaskell's letters to others their friendship brought Charlotte comfort and companionship during a challenging time in her life. Mrs. Gaskell made a memorable visit to the Bronte parsonage in Haworth in September 1853. She was deeply struck by the isolated and somewhat austere life of the Bronte family. Her observations of Haworth's rural environment and the Brontes' close, sometimes tragic, family history influenced her portrayal of Charlotte's life in her biography, The Life of Charlotte Brontë. This gave Mrs. Gaskell insight that few others had, which she later drew upon in writing about Charlotte's life. After Charlotte's death in 1855, her father, Patrick Bronte, asked Mrs. Gaskell to write Charlotte's biography. Mrs. Gaskell accepted with the intention of preserving Charlotte's memory and clarifying misunderstandings about her character. The Life of Charlotte Brontë was groundbreaking in its honesty, providing an intimate look at Charlotte's life and hardships. However, the biography stirred controversy. To protect Charlotte's reputation, Mrs. Gaskell portrayed some people in Charlotte's life in a negative light, which of course led to complaints and even threats of legal action. She had to revise certain sections of the biography to avoid legal issues, removing some of the more poignant remarks. Despite the challenges, Mrs. Gaskell's biography was pivotal in establishing Charlotte's legacy and remains an essential resource on her life to this day. So I'm really lucky to have looked around the museum today, and I've met so many lovely volunteers that have helped me. They've also helped me remember where I've left things like my bag and my coat. But this is such a beautiful museum. You really feel like you're allowed to walk around, you're allowed to touch, you're allowed to sort of, walk amongst the furniture. And that's something that's, quite unusual in museums. So it was great to be here and look at it. It is beautiful. It really is. I mean, the ceiling above me. I love a ceiling like that. But I also want to show you the room that Charlotte Brontë would have stayed in when she visited. It's now used as an exhibition room, so it obviously doesn't look like how it would have done in her time, but it still gives you an idea of the space and the view she would have had when she visited. There is a video playing, so I will film it without the microphone on so that you don't have to listen to the video. Although controversial at the time, The Life of Charlotte Brontë was appreciated by Patrick Bronte, who wanted his daughter's struggles and achievements to be understood. Charlotte's widower, however, Arthur Bell Nichols, was less comfortable with the book's revelations, but did not oppose it publicly. Today, Mrs. Gaskell's biography is seen as a tribute to Charlotte's life and work, and it captures her as a complex, intelligent woman who overcame immense challenges to create some of the most iconic novels in English literature. always been fascinated by historical garments, and last April I even ventured out into the snow in Haworth to experience what it felt like to walk around the village in a long skirt. Seeing the drawers filled with Elizabeth Gaskell's clothes was absolutely captivating. One of the volunteers noticed my interest and kindly took out an authentic historical dress from the mid-19th century belonging to another volunteer. While it wasn't one of Mrs. Gaskell's dresses, it was in the style she and Charlotte would have worn. I loved inspecting the tiny stitches and marvelling at how it was constructed. The hem was stained from years of wear and tangible connection to the past. Seeing it up close was such a wonderful experience. Though Mrs. Gaskell's Biography of Charlotte was praised for its insight into her life, it was not without its critics, included Charlotte Bronte's father, Patrick Bronte. While he'd asked Mrs. Gaskell to write the biography, he was not entirely pleased with its portrayal of his family. Patrick Bronte felt that some aspects of Charlotte's life were just too personal and that the portrayal of her early years was just too negative. Nevertheless, he did not publicly protest, but perhaps it was out of respect for Charlotte's legacy and the difficult position he was in after her death. Arthur Bell Nichols, Charlotte's widower, however, had a much difficult relationship with the biography. He was particularly upset by some of the book's content, especially regarding the depiction of Charlotte's relationship with him. He felt that the biography did not do their marriage any justice and that Mrs. Gaskell had misrepresented certain aspects of Charlotte's personal life. Arthur's reaction to the biography was one of deep discomfort, and he expressed his displeasure to Mrs. Gaskell, even though he didn't take any legal action against her. Mrs. Gaskell's life was filled with significant personal loss, which undoubtedly shaped her ability to empathise with Charlotte Brontë. She had a total of 6 children, but sadly she lost several of them at a young age. Her daughter Marianne died in 1845, and her son William also died young in 1846. Another child, who was born premature, passed away shortly after birth. These losses were deeply painful for Mrs. Gaskell, and she also faced the challenge of raising children, some of whom struggled with deafness, including her son, who was profoundly deaf. These difficult experiences of motherhood and loss gave Mrs. Gaskell a sort of profound understanding of grief. And it's clear from her correspondences with Charlotte that she shared this understanding, you could say. Both women were dealing with overwhelming personal struggles. I mean, Charlotte with the loss of her siblings and Mrs. Gaskell with the painful loss of her own children. Their letters reflected a deep empathy for each other's suffering and emotional connection based on their shared hardships. In addition to these family tragedies, Mrs. Gaskell also faced challenges in her marriage to William Gaskell, as he was often absent due to his work. This created an atmosphere where Mrs. Gaskell had to not just balance her role as a mother and a writer and a social figure in Manchester, but was also grappling with her own personal sorrows. These struggles in her life may have contributed to her sensitivity to the grief that Charlotte experienced after the death of her siblings and her ongoing health issues. So you all know me by now, I am very partial to a book, especially a second-hand book. So I've come down the stairs on the exit and I've accidentally found a room that says, there's a sign behind me, I don't know if you see it, second-hand book sale this way. Guess where I'm going? I'll show you. Mrs. Gaskell's legacy lives on not only through her novels and of course the biography of Charlotte Brontë, but also in the beautiful home that I visited today. I mean, it plays a key part in her life story. Tragically, her life was cut short in 1865 on the 12th of November, when Elizabeth passed away at the age of 55 whilst visiting her holiday home in Hollybourne, Hampshire. She died suddenly from a heart attack, leaving her final novel, Wives and Daughters, unfinished. This sudden loss was a shock to the family and friends and, of course, her literary admirers. Her death is a poignant reminder of the demanding and often stressful life she led as a writer, a mother and an active member of Victorian society. She's now buried alongside her husband, William Gaskell, in the graveyard at Brook Street in Knutsford in Cheshire, a location that also inspired the fictional town of Cranfield in her work. Today, the Elizabeth Gaskell House has been carefully restored to reflect its original Victorian charm. Visitors can see the rooms where she wrote and where she entertained and, of course, where she raised a family. And there are exhibits showcasing her manuscripts and personal items and, of course, the lively social life she maintained whilst living there. The house stands as a testament to her extraordinary life and her enduring contributions to literature. And for fans of Victorian literature and, of course, Charlotte Brontë, it offers an intimate look at the woman who beautifully chronicled the challenges and, of course, triumphs of the 19th century life. She was married to William Gaskell, and I can't say this word, utilitarian. Charlotte, a shy and solitary. Oh, I feel like I've messed this up. It was a flashy light. Oh, I'm tired. What's the word? Ambulance, police car, siren. An emergency vehicle. There we go. That covers everything then, doesn't it? Oh, oh, don't fall over. Don't spill your tea. Right. Oh, why do my feet always fall asleep? Right. So that kind of wraps up my extraordinary adventure today visiting the Elizabeth Gaskell House. It really showed the friendship between the two women. And I really hope you enjoyed having a glimpse into the life and, of course, this connection that they shared. I mean, they were both remarkable women, but put together, they were like a powerhouse. So if you did like this video, then please don't forget to do that whole likey, subscribey thing, because it really helps me out and it lets YouTube know that we want to watch more Bronte contents. So I'm going to finish my tea and I'm going to get some rest, and I'm going to see you all next Friday for more Bronte adventures. All right, take care. Bye.